Once upon a time, there was a simple man named Daniel who had a very wise wife, Lena. They loved each other deeply and lived happily together. Near them lived a clever man named Victor, but his wife, Martha, was not very intelligent. Victor did not love her, and they were not happy together. Victor often watched Daniel and Lena and felt jealous. How did this simple man marry such a wise woman? He thought. It's not fair. She deserves a smarter husband, someone like me. He kept thinking about Lena for a long time. One day, he went to visit Daniel. Listen, neighbor, Victor said. I will be honest with you. Your wife is very wise, but you are not wise at all. In fact, you are quite simple. Daniel stayed quiet. But you know me, Victor continued. I am very clever and well-educated. My wife, on the other hand, is not wise at all. Let's exchange our wives. I will have your wife, and you can have mine. This way, we will all be happier. Daniel frowned. What? He said. You want to take my wife? You think I'm simple? Well, I am not. I am just as wise as you are. Victor laughed. Oh, really? Let's find out. Let's go to the judge. He will decide who is wiser. Daniel was now worried. He thought, oh dear, I don't want to lose my wife. What if the judge asks me difficult questions? Will I be able to answer them? The two men went to the judge. Victor explained everything. The judge listened carefully and then pointed at Daniel. You say this man is simple? The judge asked. Yes, yes. Victor said. Ask him any question and you will see. He knows nothing. The judge thought for a moment and then turned to Daniel. Tell me, how many stars are in the sky? Daniel's mouth fell open. He had no idea. Here's another question. The judge continued. Where is the center of the earth? Daniel shook his head again, feeling very nervous. I have lost my dear wife. He thought. The judge said, These are difficult questions. Think about them and come back tomorrow with your answers. Daniel hurried home. By then, the sun had set and the sky was full of stars. He stood outside, staring up, trying to count them. Lena came out and found him there. What are you doing, my dear husband? She asked. Come inside. Dinner is ready. I can't, Daniel replied. I must count the stars. If I fail, I will lose you. What? Lena cried. What happened? Daniel told her everything about Victor, the judge, and the questions. When he finished, Lena laughed. Don't worry, dear husband, she said. I will give you the answers. Now, come inside and rest. The next day, Victor came to Daniel's house. Are you ready to see the judge? He asked. Oh, yes, I am ready. Daniel replied confidently. Lena handed Daniel a small basket of rice grains and a wooden staff. Then, the two men hurried off to see the judge. The judge looked at Daniel. Now tell me, how many stars are in the sky? Daniel poured the grains of rice onto the ground. The number of stars in the sky is the same as the number of grains in this basket, he said. If you don't believe me, count them yourself. The judge smiled. That is a clever answer. Victor frowned. Now, the judge said, where is the center of the earth? Daniel picked up the staff and stuck it into the ground in front of the judge's feet. "The center of the earth is here," he said. "If you don't believe me, dig and find out." The judge laughed. "This man is not simple at all. He is very wise." Victor was furious. "No, he is not wise. Someone helped him." The judge turned to Daniel. "Did someone give you the answers?" Daniel smiled and nodded. "Yes, my dear wife told me." Then he suddenly realized his mistake. "Oh no, I should not have said that." Victor laughed. "Aha, see, Judge? He is not clever. His wife is. So, let's exchange our wives." The judge nodded. "You are right. This man is not wise at all. His clever wife needs a clever husband. Go home and prepare to exchange your wives." Daniel was heartbroken. He went home with tears in his eyes. "My poor husband," Lena said. "Why are you so sad?" "I am sad because I am simple," Daniel said, "and because I have lost you." He told Lena everything. Lena smiled. "Don't worry, husband. You haven't lost me yet. Go and tell Victor that you agree to exchange wives tomorrow. Then invite him and the judge for dinner at our house." Daniel was confused. "How will that help us?" "You will see," Lena said. The next day, Victor and the judge arrived at Daniel's house for dinner. "Wife," Daniel called, "bring food for our guests." Lena brought out a beautiful basket and a pot made of gold. Victor smiled. "This looks delicious." "Yes," said the judge. "I am sure this wise woman cooks wonderful food." Lena opened the basket and handed some bread to the judge. But the bread was black and burnt. "What is this?" the judge asked. "It's my bread," Lena replied. "Don't you like it? My bread is always like this." Then she brought out a pot of chicken stew. "Please have some stew," she said to Victor. Victor frowned. "This stew is terrible. The chicken still has feathers." "You don't like my stew?" Lena asked. "But I always cook it like this. I never remove the feathers." The judge tried to eat a little but soon stopped. The bread was horrible, and the stew was even worse. "Enough," the judge said. "It's time to exchange the wives." But Victor stood up. "I think, perhaps—" "What?" the judge asked. "Don't you want this wise woman?" Victor shook his head. "She is not very wise at all. Let her stay with her husband. My wife may not be wise, but at least she cooks good food." The judge laughed and left with Victor. Daniel and Lena looked at each other and laughed. Lena smiled. "Now it's time for dinner. Come, my dear husband. Your real food is ready." She threw away the burnt bread and feathered stew. Then she brought out the delicious meal she had secretly prepared. Daniel smiled. "Oh, my dear wife, you are so wise. You deserve a better man than me." Lena held his hand. "But you are the best man in the world, and I will always love you." And from that day on, they lived happily together. If you like this story, don't forget to subscribe for more amazing content.